Justin Trudeau is heading to China at the end of August for his first official visit to his favorite basic dictatorship. But if you've been following my reports, you will know that there's nothing basic about a dictatorship that rounds up and imprisons minority groups and uses perfectly healthy citizens for their underground and illegal live organ trade. If you recall, much of the new evidence on this subject was compiled by two Canadians, former Secretary of State David Kilgour and renowned human rights lawyer David Mattis. Their report showed that the frequency and number of transplants in China are on the rise, and there are new hospitals being built for this sick practice. Last week, Immigration Minister John McCallum showed his ignorance to me on this issue, despite this new report having been authored by his former caucus colleague.
I'm curious if before your trip to China you had a chance to read your former caucus colleague David Kilgour's report, an update on his original Mattis-Kilgour report on the organ harvesting that's going on in China?
No, I didn't.
Well, the new estimates suggest it could be 60,000 to 100,000 transplants per year going on in China now, and this is his report that's been published. And I'm curious if you had a chance to possibly raise this issue with some of your Chinese counterparts over when you're on this trip. And if not, would your government consider following the lead of Israel and Spain in banning Canadian citizens from traveling to China for organ transplants?
I have not read that document, and it was not discussed in my visit to China.
So, with Trudeau set to travel to Beijing himself, will he raise this issue with President Xi Jinping, or instead ignore it in an effort to closen ties economically and politically with China? At this point, we really don't know. A Canadian official told us back in November that Trudeau raised the issue of human rights with Jinping at the APEC summit. But this was only in private, and we cannot know for sure whether the issue of organ harvesting was raised by Trudeau, or even that he would want to. I also suspect many Canadians aren't aware of the brutality and sophistication that goes into a program like this. Yesterday, I went to a rally by Falun Gong practitioners in Vancouver demanding that Prime Minister Trudeau raise this issue during his visit. And I was able to speak with a Chinese Canadian whose mother has been detained in China and put through forced labor, all because she was a Falun Gong practitioner and visited the Falun Gong website on their home computer.
My mother is a Falun Gong practitioner, and she began to practice in Falun Gong in 1998. And in 2006, the police arrested my mother due to they detected our computer because we visited the Falun Gong website. And my mother at that time, my mother was sent to labor camp for 2 years, and in the labor camp, she was forced to turn against Falun Gong by see some videos mirroring Falun Gong, and also do some heavy labor work without pay. And in 2 years ago, in 2014, my mother was arrested again, and she just went to another fellow practitioner's home, and there's 7 to 8 police just came out and arrested her on the street, and one of the police just yelled out that they will harvest her heart and liver and kidney by word, and and then they sent her to the detention center. In the detention center, she was taken to the hospital for blood test, and then after 2 years that my mother in detention center, in October 30 last year, my mother was sentenced 3.5 years because of she practicing Falun Gong. I hope on his upcoming trip to China that Prime Minister Trudeau can help to rescue my mother and other 12 family members of Canadians who are also Falun Gong practitioners, and also call on the Chinese authorities to end the persecution of Falun Gong and bring the former leader Jiang Zemin to justice for his lead role in the persecution.
Forced labor, blood tests, and police uttering threats that she would have her organs removed? In some ways, this whole operation is more disturbing than what ISIS is doing. To sell and profit profusely from removing organs from Falun Gong practitioners and other minorities is a crime against humanity, and the world really does need to wake up to this. So what can you do? Writing to your MP, which is always a good idea. But something a little more simple would be signing the parliamentary petition below, or informing yourself by visiting www.endorganpillaging.org. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.